Shame. 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 Shame.
Triple C TV. What's going on? Good evening, everyone. This is Shame TV 2. I am your host. You know who I am. For tonight's audio and or listening pleasure, I have for you. Hold on, let me move this out of my way. Okay. Umar Johnson is not done in court and his YouTube spinoff career, as I predicted. Moors are Masons. Continued discussion. Are Moors Masons and are Masons Moors? Are they interchangeable? Did the Moors create Freemasonry? Did the Moors create the whole New World Order, as they put it, as Hakeem Bey says? Also, young Pharaoh's continued exposing of the House of Consciousness. I was glad to hear it. Melanated, what up, Darren? Peace, peace. I was actually glad to hear that young Pharaoh went and addressed that shit specifically. Thank you very much. To let the world know that as much as Sarnetta tries to pretend like he's genuine, he's not. As much as Sarnetta likes to pretend like he's here to do the right thing and let bygones be bygones and move on, he's full of shit. None of that shit is what is popping off that way. Trust me and know that. None of that shit is popping off that way. So after everything he's done to young Pharaoh, accusing him of child exploitation as recently as a couple weeks ago, of him and Sarah Sutanseti being involved in some sort of child exploitation, he turns right around after attempting to put the man in jail, after even going so far as to saying that said he was fucking young Pharaoh and all of this shit that he was just saying. Now he's trying to retract that, and now he's wearing bow ties and shit and sending people to holler at Pharaoh.
But then everything, y'all ain't never got to work together. Y'all ain't never good. You never got to come on the set. He just want to let you know, brother, that he would love to honor you for your work and what you have done. And if I'm lying, Pharaoh will tell you, no, that nigga lying.
Listen here. Bum ass niggas on their channels wearing bow ties, talking crazy shit about me, right? But then gonna have a nigga text me, and then I'm not gonna read no names and no numbers, but I'm gonna get
shame. Shame. Shame.
I was surprised at the nerve that he had to actually do the shit in the goddamn first place, but that's Sarnetta for you.
Let y'all know how these niggas is trying to get famous. They're not trying to get free. Watch this. The text say, peace to the God, peace king, this is blank. All right, no name. First and foremost, congratulations congratulations on the young guy, Hey Ruth. He said, I'm hitting you up because blank wants 5 minutes of your time to talk. He wants to give you some advice on the NOI situation. If you can lend your ear. He doesn't want to do business or anything. He just wants to build. Hear him out, God. Let me know if I can call you in peace and blessings. Now, there's nothing wrong with this message. Message wasn't crazy or disrespectful or anything. But before I read y'all my response, I just want to make my point. Why you on your channel talking shit about me and dogging me out like a dog and trying to instigate what the fuck was going on with me and Ben? But you sitting here calling me and Seti motherfucking trying to be our friend. So this just show y'all how y'all these niggas is fake. These niggas do this shit for views. They don't give a fuck about information really being delivered that's actually giving somebody a shot to grow and elevate their consciousness. Now this was my response.
Prophet spoke to him, and I guess Pharaoh, he called me back, my nephew called me back and said, you know, he's still going through that. He ain't get over that yet. And, you know, he just declined. So I said, all right, cool, no problem. I said, more power to the young brother. He probably needs another year to get over his to get over the shit. Even though, like I said, I'm the only one that lost money. Nobody else.
So after all of that horse shit, young Pharaoh, thank you very much for holding your stance. You could have folded. You could have easily folded, but you didn't. So kudos to you. Keep going forward. Like I said, we're going to shout it out every time you do it. We're going to shout it out over here and make it known that we're not going for that shit right now. That shit's going to get exposed. So we'll continue.
Right? But give him his time.
I said, my response was, I'm straight on that, bro. 100. I repeat, I do not fuck with blank or blank. They tried to get me locked up. He ain't got nothing to say to me. He just.
So this was my point from the beginning. Nigga, you just tried to get this dude locked up. You just was calling his PO, harassing his PO. We know it was you. We know it was you. We know it was you because you openly called the police on YouTube just the other fucking day over some bullshit. And young Pharoah was involved in that as well. What the fuck?
Shame. Shame. Shame.
You just called the police a couple weeks ago on this nigga again and got a nerve to be harassing this nigga on a routine basis because, like I said, and the video can be found, I think on Derek Jones, on Shame TV, that the show cannot go on. What up, Chemo? The show cannot go on. I repeat, the show cannot go on without young Pharoah.
Stay over there in his lane, and I'll stay in mine. These niggas do the same thing the church do. They just do it in a different way. And so you don't really notice it. See, the pastor gonna send the motherfucking collection plate. The Moors is gonna send the motherfucking doctrine and the nationality. Huh? And
Shame. Shame. Shame.
That's not all that the Moors actually send.
It was a divine plan. America didn't happen by chance. All this was part of the divine plan that this would come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. And so now when we hear them saying it, we ready to go with the bathwater.
that's where they're getting all that. Islam is Freemasonry. When you hear the word Islam, think of Freemasonry. Don't think of nothing else. Nothing else but Freemasonry. And I'm going to end on this. Here we go.
Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. And so now when we hear them saying it, we ready to throw the baby with the bathwater, thinking it's from them. No, we originally laid out that plan.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
What the fuck that say on the hat? That say Islam on the Shriner hat. Now on the left, right here, is the Moor hat. The Moor hat is the Shriner hat without any of the glittery decorations on it. And so the Moor hat is the Shriner hat within the black community camouflaged. You see that sword above that Pharaoh head? Now let's take a second to realize that the Pharaoh is black. And this is why all religions speak down on Egypt. Because they speaking down on the African. The fucking Shriner hat say Islam. According to Islam, the fucking Middle East and the Arab is above all mankind. They got the sword over the black man's head. And so they took this motherfucking the logo off and just gave you the hat so you wouldn't know it was them. And then they sent these motherfuckers in the black community to get you to subscribe to your own motherfucking enemy.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally.
So 757-750-1993 is the call-in number, live call-in tonight. We are talking about Moors are Masons and Masons are Moors. What's up, Darkman XTV? Welcome, as usual. Thank you for stopping by. Again, we are having a discussion about Moors and being Masons and Masons being Moors. Here we just heard young Pharoah, who some agree with, some don't agree with. But he was definitely going in. We'll listen one more quick time.
Of the glittery decorations on it. And so the Moor hat is the Shriner hat within the black community camouflaged. You see that sword above that Pharaoh head? Now let's take a second to realize that the Pharaoh is black. It's going to send the motherfucking doctrine in the nationality. Huh? And that's where they're getting y'all at. Islam is free masonry. Wait. And so you don't really notice it. See, the pastor going to send the motherfucking collection plate. The Moors is going to send the motherfucking doctrine in the nationality. Huh? And that's where they're getting y'all at. Islam is free masonry. When you hear the word Islam, think of free masonry. Don't think of nothing.
He said, don't think of nothing else. When you hear the word Islam, think of Freemasonry. Now, I don't necessarily think of Freemasonry when I hear the word Islam, but I'm just saying, before we have that discussion.
The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. And so now when we hear them saying it, we ready to throw the baby with the bathwater.
So this is Hakeem H.Y. Bey's opinion, which coincides with Pharaoh's opinion about Moors being Masons. So any brothers who out there, first off, anybody out there who are Muslim, who practice Islam, I would love to hear from you tonight, because I want to know how you feel. I want to know how most people out here who are claiming to be Moors feel about this. Because we have a lot of Moors who run around, one little one in particular, who constantly talk shit about Masons in a negative light, just constantly talking about Masons in a negative light. I brought it to his attention that from my travels and studies as a brother, as a man in this world, I've learned that most Masons that I've encountered, that I actually had the privilege of knowing that they're Masons, because all of that oath shit, all that shit is horse shit, yo. Maybe on the higher end, it may be serious, but on the lower end, that shit is bullshit. Most of them dudes don't even go to meetings. Most of them dudes haven't been to a lodge meeting in decades. Like, they don't pay dude. Like, this whole their oath shit, no. Would you say, Wax? Where you at in VA? Thank you. You know what, Wax? I'm famous, my nigga. I already got seen in the store. What's my nigga D Prince? Seen me in a fucking Wawa out here, yo. I was in the store getting coffee, and D Prince walked up on me at the coffee section. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Shame.
I'm many famous, guys.
Shame.
Trust me, it's not going to my head. I assure you of that shit. None of this shit is going to my fucking head. But anyway, the point I was making is you got a lot of people out here who are Masons who don't really know nothing about that shit. Like all this New World Order and Rosicrucian and all that shit, man, them niggas don't know nothing about that shit. Like, them niggas is Christians still. You know what I'm saying? Like, they full-fledged Christians. Niggas like, how the fuck are you? And I looked at them like that. Like, how the fuck are you a Mason? You supposed to have the secrets and know that the Bible. What up, Scales? And know that the she's also in the fight as well. Scales in my eye. You know what I mean? If I'm the last man standing, you know what I mean? She's one of the last sisters standing in this fight to bring truth and reality to what these people are actually doing versus the shit that they saying. But so like, comment, and subscribe to her channel and her videos, and push it, share them, please. But this whole Freemasonry shit, like everybody being evil and then the non-Masons not be, that's a diversion. And I'm putting that out there, and that's for young Pharoah and Seti and whoever else says that shit. Like at the end of the day, I'm done listening to that, because at my age, you know what I'm saying, being 39 years old, yo, I've heard that shit so long, but I'm not seeing what you saying in reality. Meaning, these people that you call Masons are supposed to be so evil. Okay, because I used to subscribe to that shit. I used to do it, used to say shit, used to, oh man, these motherfuckers is doing this and these motherfuckers is doing that. And like, I used to do the same shit. I used to read and listen to the same shit. So after seeing so long, hearing that shit so long, and then seeing in real time, like, wait a minute, man, like, so if you're telling me that Masons are the ones who are evil and that's why the world's fucked up, then that's what you're saying is everyone else is cool. Everyone else is non-evil. You see what I mean? So all the crime in the world, all the fucking debauchery, all the nefarious things that go on the planet are all Mason, and everything else that is glorious and wonderful and prosperous is of non-Mason. The shit just don't make sense to me. That's why I said when I start seeing shit like that, like this arbitrary meaning in the sense of not having to provide facts and or evidence to back up your claim or your statement. When I start seeing that shit, it's propaganda as far as I'm concerned. That's why I say you don't see me doing that shit like that. That's why now I'm taking it to the level of asking the question. Yes, that I know that people work together, but I see people work together all the time, nigga. I was in the streets like everybody else who grew up running the streets, doing dirt, doing certain shit. And yo, niggas was linking up and had whole little organizations and shit, and wasn't none of them sworn no oaths to nothing. You see what I'm saying? If you don't see what I'm saying, maybe I'll say it another way. Meaning people can link up and organize without having to swear some oath and fealty to some shit. They just have to have a common goal. So when I look at that whole evil hierarchy Mason shit, I look at that shit as, man, these are motherfucking people. Tom, Jed, Ned, Barry. These are just people who have a fucking common agenda. And that common agenda is they don't want to do work. They want to do as minimal work as possible and have everyone else do it for them so that they can live out heaven on earth.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So that's what I myself simplify that shit to. That's what I break that shit down to. I break it down to these people. There's people who make shit happen. I don't care what your so-called group or title is. The reason why bad things happen on earth is because people make them shits happen. It's people who fuck other people over. It's people who allow that shit to take place.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
757-750-1993 is the call-in number. Feel free to call in at any time. Tonight we are talking about young Pharoah's continued House of Consciousness exposing, letting the world know that he is not forgotten, how Sarnetta has disrespected him throughout a year's time and attempted to even get him locked up multiple times, as recently implementing him in some sort of child exploitation ring or situation involving his daughter, in which he called the FBI and the fucking police live on a live stream. What up, Suicide? Live on a live stream, this nigga called the police on young Pharoah less than 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And then turns around and tells him how he's over that now. He's over that. He no longer wants to talk about that. He no longer wants to talk about that because it's time for this award show to really get in gear if it's going to take off. And the problem is, again, like we said here, Derek Jones Talks Live, Shane TV, like we said, He has no one to give these awards to. Umar Johnson would have happily accepted an award. Umar accepts all awards. I'm going to let you guys know that right now. Umar Johnson will not turn down any fucking public appearance, especially one in which he gets to be talked about, and he can talk shit and talk about how he's sought after and award winning and etc. Because that's how he rolls.
Shame.
But
Shame.
he's
Shame.
looking around and there's no one to give this to. Polite scamming window is officially closed. Every time he does something, he's caught within a mere matter of days afterwards. All his
Shame.
last scams, few scams,
Shame.
Polite's been caught immediately.
Shame.
That means the window is closing. People are on to you. We know what they know what you're doing. When your name is brought up, for those who don't know you, they'll soon hear about you. Also tonight, we were talking about Moors or Masons. Are Moors Masons and are Masons Moors? We heard from brother young Pharoah and how he felt. We heard how the Moors responded.
Part of the divine plan that this will come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally.
So, with that being said, are the Moors Masons and are the Masons Moors? Should we blame again ourselves? Are we to blame? Because we are, without a doubt, descendants of Moors. None of us know who our great-great-grandfather's great-great-grandfather's father's mother's great-great-grandfather was. So you are more than likely, or it's a good possibility that you are descended from some Moors. Are we responsible for this whole New World Order, chipping you, all that shit? Is that what the Moors had in mind?
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Also, we'll be talking about Umar Johnson, not done in court. Umar is not done in court. Also, as predicted again, his YouTube spinoff career. Yes, Infatunde has taken to YouTube, like I said that he would. It's a way to generate some sort of revenue. He has a big enough name and enough fucking loyalists. I'm not going to call those brothers and sisters out of their name because from what I hear, there is some people out here that Umar has helped.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
But it still doesn't take away from the fact that you're a liar, man, and there's really no way to get around that. So this is courtesy of Anti-Afro Svengalis.
Did all this to yourself. You knew what this board of psychology, you knew the do's and the don'ts, and you did it anyway. With the psychology, I read the complaint. They said you're not supposed to represent yourself as a psychologist.
Umar Johnson, you have done nothing but represent yourself, represent yourself,
Shame.
present yourself, talk about
Shame.
yourself as a psychologist. Now let's just cut the shit. Like you done that, you did that, you were saying these things. Nobody made you say this shit. Nobody demanded that you say these things. Nobody demanded of Umar Johnson that he go around and say these things. Umar Johnson chose to say these things. We just listened to you because we had no fucking clue that you were bullshitting us. To this day, Umar Johnson has yet to produce all the degrees that he says he has. We've heard all of this talk. We've heard all of this shit. Yet we've still yet to fucking hear, or see all of the degrees. I don't understand why. What the fuck is the problem? What the fuck is the problem? But what we're going to hear tonight, I want you guys to really pay attention to, is because you're going to hear someone who has presented to the world a victory. You have people who have created videos and done videos and said that how Umar Johnson's haters have been this, that, and the third, and yeah, Umar, he won his case, and you know, what does the haters have to say now? First off, like I said, ain't nobody hating on Umar Johnson. There was no need to ever hate on Umar Johnson. That's why nobody's hating on him. We're just talking about shit that he said. And anybody who takes that a question about something someone said as hate, yo, that's you just revealing that you cannot handle an adult-sized conversation. That's all that says to me.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So this brother presented himself to us as nothing but a fucking psychologist.
On your website, giving up, and you don't really have permission to do so. You did this, not black people.
And before we move on, I want you to remember that no one twisted his arm and told him to say the things that he said.
Anti-Afro Spingallis. I can guarantee you, people. Now, I am going to address the situation with the video, but I need to get a.
Thank you, Triple C. That you guys are going to hear it because she's going to talk to me. They even said it's not over, but you had niggas Negroes, as Sonetta calls them, running around talking shit like, yeah, Umar won. Umar knows that this shit is not over. He's not going to come out and clarify that with these people. All they know is he went in some room that seemed like a courtroom and walked out and is still talking the shit he was talking. So in their mind, you know how some black people are who don't understand what these things really are, who don't understand the process of these hearings, and that there's multiple hearings, that there's not just one, there's multiple hearings. Okay, so people don't understand that. All they know is, oh, the nigga went to court and he came out. Shit, he must have won, man. Y'all niggas hating. Still, he's yet to provide all the other degrees he said he has. Still, he's yet to provide colleagues. I have yet, and to date, to hear colleagues of Umar Johnson stepping up in his defense.
Shame.
For a man who's amassed that many degrees. I've still yet to hear one colleague step up and do a video and like, yo, you guys need to leave him alone. He's been practicing medicine. He's been doing this. He's been doing that for this many years, etc. Nothing. Absolutely no one. The only people who step up in his defense, one was Polite.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Hassan, allegedly Campbell.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Sonetta. These are the people who were stepping up for him.
Shame. Shame.
Baba TV, who'll do exactly what Sonetta tells him to do. When I say exactly, who watched Game of Thrones in here? Who knows about Game of Thrones in here? If y'all know, whoever watches Game of Thrones, y'all know who Mace Tyrell is. Baba Haru is Mace Tyrell to Sonetta's Tywin Lannister. He'll do whatever Sonetta fucking tells him to.
Shame. Shame.
Baba Tyrell. But these are the people who are actually stepping up for Umar Johnson. These are the people who are making videos in defense of Umar Johnson. Not Dr. such and such. Not Dr. Karen Johnson. Not Dr. Robert Jones or some shit. No. Polite.
Shame.
few more
Shame.
resources before I can finish up
Shame.
that video about. Now listen, I can guarantee you one thing. Okay, let me get this clarified. I'm talking about the video that Crybaby, Umar Johnson, and Ann McMillan, and whoever else complained to YouTube about. So they put a hate speech on it. A hate speech, whatever you call. Let me guarantee you two things. I consider this to be hilarious. And they don't know what's coming next. I don't even think.
Umar Johnson needs you, Afro, to be quiet because he's trying to launch this YouTube career. And if you keep doing these things, every time you type in Umar Johnson, there's going to be a bunch of Umar exposed videos coming up too.
Shame.
And see, he can't deal with that.
Johnson has been putting his head on a pillow, might-filled pillow, and sleeping like a baby, although he's ripped off the Black community. I can guarantee you he's not doing that now, and neither is Ann McMillan. Those are two guarantees.
The windows are closing. Yes, he's a dummy. That's a simple way to put it. But the windows are closing. The windows are closing. Polite's window is closed. Every time he moves, somebody's on him. Sanitta's window is closing. Every time he try to put on an event, it ends in a fight horribly. Now this one, he can't even recruit the talent to come. Windows closing. Now we've got the most sought after prince, Prince Scar from The Lion King.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Wakandan name Infatunde.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Is now allowing his followers, those who still believe in him, he's allowing them to roll around and believe that he has somehow beat this case and it is over with, when a hearing, all they're doing is getting specifics straight, man. They would not have brought him this far because I already know they sent someone out to talk to him beforehand. Somebody came to Umar Johnson or addressed him via phone or however to get in contact with them and to have a meeting to sit with him and talk with him about what he's been doing as far as presenting himself and actually charging people
Shame.
for consultation.
Shame.
Just like what?
Shame.
A psychiatrist does, a psychologist does, a doctor does. This is what he was doing. So to keep trying to be specific, y'all are here. Let me shut up. Go ahead.
Relative to this situation. What I'm going to do with this particular video, because I got to finish up the other video, I'm going to give you an update on the status of Umar Johnson impersonating a psychologist and being cold busted and charged by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
And blaming everybody
Here's
else.
the document on the screen for anybody who doesn't believe it happened. Now, let me tell you what happened when I called. I called, about an hour or so ago? And as of an hour ago, the decision had not been rendered, and the person told me that the hearing officer still has the case. Now, when I called this time, I was not multitasking. The first time I called, I was multitasking and I got half information. I shouldn't have been doing that. I corrected that. But the person on the phone today got more technical with me and told me, which was true, like I stated the last time, once the transcript is delivered to the parties, they have key he told me, and it takes an average of 60 days to render a decision. And it is not unusual that can go 60 to 90 days. But the hard and fast time is 180 days. So he got more technical with me. See, Pennsylvania is not my state. If you ask me about my state, I could tell you, with my eyes closed. I have not researched the law in detail, Pennsylvania, to the extent I've researched other laws. But this person specifically told me, okay. Then I was also told that there is a consideration now about whether or not more information will be included, including letters sent in. So they're going over that. And of course, I don't know Commonwealth Pennsylvania law. So he told me they're deliberating that. He couldn't tell me, obviously, what they're considering, but everything that was sent in is part of the record. Is part of the record. Okay. So he states, he made it very clear, which is true in every state, the hearing officer makes a recommendation. If the Board of Psychology accepts it, they accept it. And the case is finished. Whether or not the hearing officer said the state of Pennsylvania met its burden, accusing Umar Johnson of impersonating as a psychologist, among other things, they met their burden. He will be sanctioned accordingly. And the Board of Psychology obviously is going to agree with that. I'm not going to say no. If the hearing officer says no, Umar Johnson did not violate the statutes, the Board of Psychology has to agree with the hearing officer. If the board does not agree, they can adopt their own decision. That the governor of the state, every board in every state in the United States. I don't know a state that doesn't operate like that. That's just the way it is. Because the cops don't have time to go after all the crooks. There's a lot more crooks. So these boards were given the authority by the governor to do just what I described. Now, I did ask, had the record been reopened officially? And I was told it was not reopened to file new, because they could reopen the record officially. And I was told that has not occurred, that they're going with the information that they have. Okay. And I'm asserting, I got to tell you this, people. As you see on the screen here, Umar Johnson's been doing this since 2005. Here's a letter that he wrote, the crybaby letter. As it's, what is it? This is a little bit small here on my screen here. I'm putting the letter down the bottom so you can see. It's funny, as a psychologist, I am well aware that jealousy is not really directed at the victim. It is simply displaced upon the victim because the hater can't honestly look at himself. Does that sound like anything that a whole psychologist would say?
Shame. Shame. Shame.
No, it does not. It doesn't sound like anything that any sort of psychologist would say. When presented with a question of fact, again, I've said this multiple times. When you present people with questions of fact and they start going to ad hominem attacks, they're admitting their guilt. That's just my opinion. But it's based on extensive research. Most people who have a truth and a fact or about a matter to pass on, and you're badgering them about the facts of the matter, and they're not beholden to be secretive about these facts or something like that. These facts aren't necessarily clandestine facts. They have no problem putting you in your place, so to speak, by handing you the truth. This happens all the fucking time. The problem is when you meet someone who doesn't have the facts, who doesn't want to give specifics, who doesn't want to be clear about shit.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
That person, 9 times out of 10, fuck it, 10 times out of 10, is going to engage. That person is going to engage in ad hominem attacks to divert your attention away from what we're talking about. All we're asking this man for is to present what you said and keep it moving. All we asking you is, yo, are you a psychologist like you've been saying and charging people money and shit like regular doctors do? Yo, that's what you've been doing. Stop saying you haven't been doing it. It's way too much fucking video evidence. That's why these people are doing it to you. They've probably been watching you for the last 5 years saying this shit. They're probably going to bring up shit from 2013 of Umar Johnson doing this shit.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Have you ever heard of, is that within the scope of school psychology? After Umar Johnson calls himself a psychologist? Of course it isn't, people. Of course it isn't. Neither are the other statements that Umar Johnson has made, very clearly perpetrating and impersonating a psychologist. Not to mention therapists, child therapists, psychotherapists, and all this other jazz.
Exactly.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
You mean to tell me, nigga, all you gotta do is go to college, get us some degrees, not have to go anywhere, be certified with the state, licensed by the state, none of that shit, and just start going places and fucking with people's kids? Are you telling me you serious? Because that means a teacher could do that. All a teacher got to do is go to school and study all things that a history teacher or a math teacher or etc. would learn in some sort of university in America, and then just go inside her house and start charging people to come in there, and she's going to teach you everything. Not as a tutor, but strictly as your fucking teacher.
All fraudulent, all bogus, all illegal. So Umar Johnson did it for years and just can't tolerate the fact that he finally got pulled up on these charges. That's what he gets. I don't feel one bit sorry for him. I am confident these charges will be substantiated. And let's make it clear, Umar Johnson continues to state that he must say he was, quote, licensed. You do not have to say that. In fact, that word, quote, license is not even on the paperwork to apply to be a psychologist. It's a psychologist. That's what it is. They don't say licensed. You're not required to meet a burden because someone didn't say licensed or not. That's not even relevant. He stated he was a psychologist.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
See how she's pointing out how that's not relevant, but that's all he keeps talking about? That's the sign of a scam artist. They are going to focus on everything that does not matter, and they're going to put emphasis on that shit. That he is putting emphasis on the word. I listened to that shit, and that nigga kept saying, I repeat, every time I went, every time I said it, every time I presented myself, I said, like, shut the fuck up, man. They're talking about, are you or are you not putting yourself there out as a fucking doctor and a psychologist? It's no different if I get on YouTube and start charging y'all saying, come here and come to my school of defending yourself in court. If you want to defend yourself in court, come to me. And I can say that shit too. Because I have personal firsthand experience. I have personal knowledge of other people doing it. How it works when you're inside versus when you're outside fighting your case. For all that shit. I can say that shit. But I cannot come out and tell you that I am and put myself out as an attorney and start spouting out some law degree that I have. I went to the University of Texas, and I have a law degree from there. I also went to such and such state college and got a law degree from there. I also went to Savannah State and got an associate's degree from there, and all of that shit like that. Never once telling you that I joined the labor organization called the bar that they must join to practice law. Which says that's not even a fact, but I'm just going by what they say in their little rules. You can't put yourself out as an attorney. You can't put out and advertise, if you have been injured in a car accident, call Shame TV. The fuck?
Shame. Shame. Shame.
And I know that I cannot do that because I'm not an attorney, technically. So you can't be doing the shit you're doing, Umar, because you're not a psychologist.
Psychologist, when he spoke within the context of a psychologist,
exactly,
with nothing to do with school psychology. Not saying he didn't mention school psychology before, because he has, but the times he has stated he is a psychologist, he was talking about mental health issues.
And when I heard Umar first,
shame. Shame. Shame.
All he ever talked about was being a school psychologist. Everything he referred to was about school psychology and children. And then throughout the years, as he evolved more and more, it turned into, young boys specifically. And here, as you see on your screen, I wanted to point out, because we mentioned it before, but I wanted to point out again, as you can see right here, this dude this is 2005, G. This is 2005. He's been doing it, and he was doing it before then. He's been doing this before then. That's why I said these people are not, most people who are defending him, yo, you are not realizing, man, that these people have probably been watching this dude for years. They probably, as when he started taking that money and talking about how he's going to build a school and he needs all these donations, I guarantee you he was smack dab on that fucking radar by then.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. And for people who were freaking out about the hearing, kept saying the attorney didn't do this, the attorney didn't do that. This is an attorney with, I think, 30-something years of experience. You think that he doesn't know how to handle Umar Johnson? They only brought information to that hearing that they need clarification on. There was an investigation. Umar Johnson spoke to an investigator. So if the investigator didn't have any questions and he got his or her answers, he was satisfied. Why would that be brought up at the hearing? It wouldn't be. They only brought up things.
Shame. Shame.
Exactly.
Shame.
He got addressed way before any paperwork got filed to have an official basic hearing, like, nigga, you better bring your ass in here type shit. And what happened was, more than likely, that evaluation that he got, he failed because they knew he was going to fail from the beginning because they've been watching him, and they know what you've been saying and they know what you've been doing. And the moment you started spouting your mouth off and being actually on CNN and shit like that, running your mouth about having 6 degrees, yo, you're not going to tell me, dog, no big, loud mouth, articulate black man who's spouting off about degrees and shit. You think them Europeans wasn't going to go check that shit?
Shame. Shame. Shame.
And you stupid enough. This is where you're dumb, Umar. Umar, you're actually fucking stupid enough to actually blame us for this shit.
They wanted Umar Johnson to get trapped in. I'll say trapped. I think they trapped him. And he fell into the trap.
Sorry?
That's what I'm saying. Because he lied. He lied many times at that hearing. And they busted him. He was the one that gave up the information about the Breakfast Club, the first interview. And I believe they already knew about that interview. This is an attorney, people. Have you spent any time around an attorney? I am not saying that you can't prevail against an attorney, but not in this situation where you have implicated yourself. So
what she means is this attorney knows full well what he's done, because this shit has been going on for a decade or more. This is not something that just popped off in 2014 and then now it's 2018 and Umar is being addressed about shit. Nah, nigga, this shit has been going on for more than a decade, for longer than a decade. Umar Johnson has been going around presenting himself as a child psychologist, dealing with people's children, going to schools, etc., presenting himself on having clients, holding consultations, advertising.
Shame.
That he holds
Shame.
Consultations.
Shame.
Been on air, on live streams, booking visits no different than any other doctor. Clinical psychology at that.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
And you got addressed by these people. You got addressed by these people and your whole fucking world just crumbled.
So many times they got Umar Johnson on their record to admit certain things. So it's on the record. Now, I wanted to make sure it was clear what Umar Johnson did. You may be bored by this, but in case people aren't, familiar, he did hope.
And whoever's bored by it can be bored by it, because those are the type of people who I say all the time, bad shit happens in this world because people make it happen. None of that shit is by happenstance. People make shit fucked up in this world. And it continues to be that way because people do nothing about that shit.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
With himself out to be a psychologist. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference whether or not you got paid 1 red cent or not, money or not. He held himself out to be a psychologist. Now, getting
that's
paid
a yes/no question, and it's a yes.
But they even have confirmation of that because he advertised psychological consultations and psychological services on that nasty website that's been taken down, by the way. I was told it was taken down. So if it was correct, why didn't he keep it up? I did manage to capture it. I have to see if I can find it.
Not only should he have kept it up, he should have been talking about it at the hearing. Yes, I have this website where I address my clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
If I can find it, I will put it up because I did copy it when it was up at one point. I have to go dig around for that because I was a little bit ago. So let me see. Psychoeducational evaluations and psychological, he is not qualified to do psychological counseling. If someone has a supposedly has graduated from a doctoral program, that doesn't give them the authorization to do counseling or therapy. You need a license. That's flat out. And for Umar Johnson to walk out of that hearing and say he's a therapist and we all do that work, that's illegal.
And not to mention,
shame, shame, shame.
Not to forget, let's say, the fact that he travels and does this. So whatever a certain state has specifics on their psychologists having certain licenses and whatever, he circumvents all of that shit and just goes. He travels all over the place, says that shit wherever. He can be in Texas and he'll say that shit. He can be in fucking Louisiana the next month and say that shit. And he can be in motherfucking New Jersey the next month. And he's going to say the same thing and do the exact same thing.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
And I want it to be said right here, right now, 55 minutes into this live stream. I want it to be known and said right now, so there'd be no confusion, that I do not care that Umar Johnson chooses to help people by counseling them, consultations through whether they're paid or not. If he went to school and he learned certain things and through his studies as a man, he learned certain things and he chose to come to people and present that shit to people, to his people, in an effort to help them reach a better life on earth, a better situation on earth, I would have had absolutely no problem with that shit. Absolutely no problem. Dr. Delbert Blair came to us a long time ago. Dr. Delbert Blair was an actual doctor as far as having a doctorate. As far as I was concerned, as far as I know. But he never put himself out as he's out here practicing medicine. Never went on a worldwide medicine practicing tour. Sold products and say, these are products that I have. You can try them. They work for me. They work for some people. I know that because I've ordered shit from him before. But this guy right here, who used to say some of the most powerful and correct things, ruined all of it by lying about being a psychologist as early as 2005, and we know that it's been going on a lot longer than that.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Please tell us the people that are doing this work that are engaging in illegal provision of services, aside from Umar Johnson. That's what he needs to tell us. Okay, now here also, this is very important. It says, engaged or offered or attempted or held himself out to the public to be. Or, not all, they do not have to catch you in the act. You can attempt, you can advertise, you can hold yourself out to be. Because if you're doing that, it's assumed that you're doing it. It is not up to them to chase you down and catch you in the act of doing anything. The fact that you're stating it is good enough. And the law is written in that manner. Okay? So using the word psychology, psychological, and psychologist. Now, this is very funny because Umar Johnson insists that a school psychologist is a psychologist, and he can call himself that. He can only call himself if he is even really legit anyway, because I don't believe what Umar Johnson says. Let's pretend that he actually is a school psychologist. He's only allowed to use that title when he's working specifically in that role and in that field. Doing there. He does not have the right to leave whatever he is and go out and to publicly call himself a psychologist. He doesn't have a right to do that. In every state, they have a psychology act that is written to protect the title because they know of the scams and the frauds and the deceivers and the liars and the cheats who use titles to, you use that title to get money. And Umar Johnson has gotten $1 million from Black folks lying about being a psychologist. And it goes without saying, the absolutely most horrific part about it is the danger and the harm that it causes people. The position that it puts the profession in. Him espousing all of these hate, the nerve to call me a hate speaker. He is king hate speech. Please tell us the people that are doing this work that are engaging in illegal provision of services, aside from Umar Johnson. That's what he needs to tell us. Okay, now here also, this is very important. It says, engaged or offered or attempted or held himself out to the public to be. or not all, they do not have to catch you in the act. You can attempt, you can advertise, you can hold yourself out to be, because if you're doing that, it's assumed that you're doing it. It is not up to them to chase you down and catch you in the act of doing anything. The fact that you're stating it is good enough. And the law is written in that manner. Okay? So using the word psychology, psychological, and psychologist. Now, this is very funny because Umar Johnson insists that a school psychologist is a psychologist, and he can call himself that. He can only call himself if he is even really legit anyway, because I don't believe what Umar Johnson says. Let's pretend that he actually is a school psychologist. He's only allowed to use that title when he's working specifically in that role and in that field. He does not have the right to leave whatever he is and go out and to publicly call himself a psychologist. He doesn't have a right to do that.
And that's all I was saying. You can't just be everywhere and be that. They have to have certain provisions per state.
In every state, they have a psychology act that is written to protect the title, because they know of the scams and the frauds and the deceivers and the liars and the cheats who use titles you use that title to get money. And Umar Johnson has gotten $1 million from Black folks lying about.
Some people call themselves illustrious grand impotents. They succeeded too.
A psychologist. And it goes without saying, the absolutely most horrific part about it is the danger and the harm that it causes people. The position that it puts the profession in. Him espousing all of these hate, the nerve to call me a hate speaker. He is king hate speech using a professional title. How much worse can it get? Then he's making Black folks look like fools. He's trying to put himself up as some damn leader, talking crazy like this. I am so glad the Board of Psychology did this. I'm confident, although you never know how things are going to turn out. Personally, I feel confident that they met their burden. And if they don't, there's plenty of evidence to make another report. He's not going to stop until the law puts their hands around his neck and squeezes to make him comply. And that's what makes Umar Johnson comply. That's it. The white man has to come in and tell him what to do. Otherwise, he's not going to listen. Okay?
Shame.
And I addressed that once before, and it's sad because after all the talk that Umar gave, by the way, 757-750-1993 is the call-in number. All the things that he said, I found it interesting that all we did was ask you for just a simple question to show us. That was it. It was some people going in on him, but for the most part, he was just getting asked a question to show people what was actually going on. And for some reason, we got called everything except our names. Then when these people bring you in, you come in there and you sit down and you act civilized and you start talking.
Shame.
Shit is crazy.
Shame.
Hey, there you go. But that's what they needed to do, and that's what they've done. No one's fault but Umar Johnson's. Nobody told Umar Johnson to lie. He felt it was going to be much easier to lie than it would be to do the work because he didn't have whatever it takes. Okay? He didn't want to tolerate that. He knows more than the Black psychologist. You can't tell him anything. Oh, well, here we are, people. Here we are. Again, I'm going to be finishing up the other video and posting my response, but it has to come with specific information. And you will see what I'm talking about when I come back on. In the meantime, you must always remember And never forget, buyer beware.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
And with that, we will take our standard 30-second break.
Civilized and taught the New World Order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge. All this was part of the divine plan that this would come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. And so now when we hear them saying it, we ready to throw the baby with the bathwater, thinking it's from them. No, we originally laid out that plan for one divine world order. And they merely inherited it. And when we fell off, they still espoused it. Even though men...
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Shame TV 2. What's going on, people? 757-750 was the 1993 was the call-in number. Moors are Masons. Masons are Moors. Young Pharoah continued House of Consciousness exposing, letting the world know he's not being suckered in. Nor said he. And we just get finished listening to Umar Johnson, not done in court. So before we go, we'll talk about his YouTube spinoff career. Now, YouTube pays if you're a big enough name. You got a little cred. You've been on a breakfast show or club, whatever, and all these different things. You might be able to do a little something. Put a page up, get a couple of views, you know, AdSense checks from them, you know, get them AdSense checks popping.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
No GoFundMe ass niggas. But yeah, he's gonna spin off to YouTube. He's gonna spin off to some sort of consistent monetary base, and YouTube is gonna provide that for him. And I told you, that's all that's left for him. When you start looking at these people, really, like they're nothing. It doesn't really exist. I'm gonna give you an example. In professional wrestling, WWE, they have what is called the WWE Hall of Fame. Do you know that the Hall of Fame doesn't really exist? There's no place. There's nowhere where this thing exists, where there's trophies of all these former wrestlers and shit like that, where they won awards and shit. That doesn't exist. You want to know where WWE Hall of Fame exists, son? That night that it's on TV. And that's about it.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So this whole Umar Johnson and this whole I'm a psychologist who's trying to build a school shit, that shit doesn't exist. It exists no more than a house of consciousness exists. There's no house where people get together and come to and be conscious at. It doesn't exist.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
All these people want you guys to do, man, at the end of the day, is just give you money. And generally, they don't want to give you money as far as want you to give them money as far as selling you something. They want you to give them money. And they give you absolutely nothing in return. Shame TV 2.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
What up, what up, what up? Yeah, this is my smaller page. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share the videos if you haven't already. Tonight we were listening in on young Pharoah as he let the world know why he's not fucking with Sonetta, and we were grateful for him to do such. We also touched again Moors being Masons. We'd also we wanted some Moors to call in, but I guess not tonight. But tomorrow as well, I'm going to do another one, and it's specifically going to be Moors or Masons. Again, that one is going to be specific, and we want to get some attention on that. Yeah, they still baffle me too. They're trying to survive though, so I know what's going on with the House of Consciousness. I'm trying to tell y'all, y'all don't believe everything I said about these niggas is true. I told y'all there was going to be a minion war. The minion war is in full swing right now. I told y'all that Sonetta is going to try to do, when he tries to do this award show, it's like a last ditch effort to try to stay on top, and it's not going to work. It's going to crumble because he doesn't have any talent. He doesn't have anyone. And the only one who's popping up there that he could get to even come, who even deals with him in any way, you know what I'm saying? He are no people who nobody want to see. No one's gonna come across the country to see these people. No one's coming across the country because he gave Shaka almost an award, and he might bring more people than anybody else that Sonetta got up there.
Shame.
Shaka almost might bring more people than anybody else that he got. Other than that, nobody else is coming across the country. If he had young Pharoah and Sarasota Seti at that event, niggas is coming from the West Coast, from the South, from the East, and from the North. And the whole Harlem, that whole New York, that whole area would be flooded that weekend.
Shame.
I mean, the vendors, everybody, like the whole 9 yards, all of that shit. And that's what he want. He got Garfield. Garfield. Oh, man, just call yourself G or something, nigga. Garfield. But I ain't gonna disrespect the man, nigga. He's just a fucking weirdo who's a scam artist too, because you ain't got no facts. You ain't got no fucking stories of nobody coming through and saying, hey, yeah, Garfield helped and did this, and Garfield fixed that. It's just a whole bunch of you talking. And I can't stand dudes who do that. I can't stand credit gurus and I'll fix this type of shit guru, all these gurus, but they don't never have no satisfied customers speaking up for them. Like I said about Umar, you're this, that, and the third in the psychology field. You're the most sought after this. You're the most sought after that. You have 6 degrees and all this shit, and at the end of the fucking day, nigga, you don't have not one colleague to come step up who has an actual practice, who can present his practice, the address, the whole 9 yards, a client list, etc., and be like, hey, this is what I do. But as I know Umar, he's also a doctor. I went to school with him, or me and him, we worked together in such and such and such when we were trying to get our associates together, and just like nothing, just full of shit. This is what you get, yo. So Umar in court, he's not done yet. Please don't be fooled. They got this nigga by the balls. Umar's been being watched for over a decade probably now. He probably started being watched immediately after he started running his mouth about the Frederick Douglass shit.
Shame.
Soon as he started running his mouth about that Frederick Douglass shit, yeah, it was a wrap. It was a fucking wrap. People started noticing him. Frederick Douglass' family had to come out and say, we don't know this nigga.
Shame.
And that's okay, because what does Umar do? Umar goes and presents some fucking long-ass speech about old Uncle Andrew, or whatever the fuck it was he said, who was related to Grandma Todd.
Shame.
Grandma Todd's
Shame.
first cousin, Gerald, who, what the fuck are you talking about, nigga? Those people are real specific about their family, G.
Shame.
And they know you're not a part of it.
Shame.
But that's when he began. Umar began to get watched since then. That's when it began. So all of this is just the beginning of the end of him. Another window closing. We got a few more. It's the new ones. The rookie class who fell off and who were exposed for being scam artists like Kev Gills and people like that. Those guys are down the line. We'll take care of them later. In the meanwhile, we'll continue to have fun with dumbasses like Israel Doctrine and, you know, Michael Edwards and those type of guys. That stuff's just for fun. Shame TV too.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
The windows are actually closing, guys. These people have nowhere else to turn. And I can't say that I'm anything but happy about it. So as we leave out, I want you to hear some audio about what obesity does to the mind.
There's a fly in here, and I hate flies. I don't know so much I hate homosexuality.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
There's a fly in here, and I hate flies. I don't know so much I hate homosexuality. Look at that goddamn devilish fly. I bet you I can catch him, y'all. You want me to catch him on camera? Now, if I caught it on my hand, y'all gonna have to give me $100. You ain't gonna. And there's a fly in here, and I hate flies.
Shame.
I don't know so much I hate homosexuality.
Shame.
Look at that goddamn devilish fly. I bet you I can catch him, y'all. You want me to catch him on camera? Now, if I caught it on my hand, y'all gonna have to give me $100.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
What again? Oh, I thought I caught the motherfucker.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Good night, people. It's a wrap for me. I've been up since 5 something this morning. So it's time to shut it on down. Jesus Christ, or Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Chemo. Norma, thanks for coming. Triple C was in here. Wax, Tulsafig. I don't buy bulls. I don't buy Sarnetta's bull. Bill, what up? Shadow Assassin was in this mother. I gotta start reading my comments more. Suicide stopped through in the beginning. My nigga Suicide, funny as shit. Yo, Suicide did a melanated agenda. Suicide did a fucking Scales of My Exalt. Suicide did a live stream of it, man. Dark Man X was also in the building. And that nigga said, he said Donald Trump is about to cut off or cut short food stamps in half. So the food boxes from the pantry and shit is going to start picking up. Niggas going to the pantry and selling food boxes and shit, hustling food boxes. What he say? Suicide said some crazy shit, yo. He was like, he's like, yo, I got the Uncle Ben's, so I got one that got donuts and and fruit in it. Like, yo, this nigga was fucking bugging. But we'll talk about that as well, yo. The effect it's going to have on society and who it's really going to affect, because we talk about our people, which we should talk about our people because it's relative to us. But at the same time, man, I've told you guys before, Europeans, or what we call white people today in America, receive food stamps at a far greater rate than black people do. They receive TANF at a far greater rate than black people do. They receive what's the other one, man? Section 8 at an alarmingly far greater rate than black people. A black family black families that are actually on Section 8, they're far fewer than European families. There's nowhere near comparing. So it's gonna have an effect, maybe not the effect that people think it's actually going to have. So you guys have a great night, man, and peace. Before we go, we're just gonna give a quick listen to pretty much all the stuff that we heard tonight.
Listen, family, you ain't got nothing. And I feel that I have grown in all three: knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
Niggas, and I'm not gonna say no names, but y'all know I keep receipts. I'm not gonna say no names. Let me tell y'all how fake these niggas is. And this is why I'm telling my generation, and down. Fuck these niggas. Don't fuck with these. And I'm not saying every elder. It's a lot of elders that support me and back me the way they supposed to and salute. I'm talking about these fake ass niggas out here acting like they for you when they not. These niggas out here just doing this shit for views. When I got into it with the NOI, you know how many niggas made videos just for views? It was, and like I said, I'm not gonna say no names. I'm gonna bring the receipts, right? Now, it was a bum ass nigga, okay, who, and this is just one of many niggas.
Yeah, he's talking about you, Sarnetta.
Shame.
Just in case anybody's confused on who the bum ass nigga he's talking about.
Bum ass nigga get on his channel every day, and I'm on my man Mix. Rest in peace, Mix. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I never watched one of this nigga videos. I got this nigga blocked. But I see the nigga because people keep screenshotting the shit and telling me to address the shit. But I'm like, I'm up here. We don't address Padawans. So the point I'm trying to make is this nigga on his channel every day with a fucking suit and a bow tie on, trying to egg on this shit that was going on at the time. Now, not only, was that happening, this nigga was talking stone cold cash shit about me and the General Cyrus suicide. But then had the nerve, and I'm not gonna say no names. I told you I'm not gonna say no names. So I'm gonna read the message without saying no names.
Again, that is Sarnetta he's talking about. Again, that is Sarnetta he is talking about.
So I hit my nephew up, Rock Prophet, hit up young Pharoah. Let him know that I would like to nominate the young fella to show y'all that I'm not caught up with that bull.
And to show y'all that I got young Pharoah back so that I can advertise it on the flyer.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
With the BS. To show y'all that I'm not caught up with that bull, with the BS. With the BS. Because he's doing work out here just like everybody else. He's putting in the work. So let me nominate him and let him know. So my nephew, Rock Prophet, hit him up, called him, said, yo, Pharoah, my uncle, man, he's hoping that everything, y'all ain't never got to work together. Y'all ain't never got to come on the set. He just want to let you know, brother, that he would love to honor you for your work and what you have done. And if I'm lying, Pharoah will tell you, no, that nigga lying.
Listen here. Bum ass niggas on their channels wearing bow ties, talking crazy shit about me, right? But then,
ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, Sarnetta does have on a bow tie. Sarnetta does have on a bow tie.
I'll have a nigga text me, and I'm not gonna read no names or no numbers, but I'm gonna just let y'all know how these niggas is trying to get famous. They not trying to get free. Watch this. The text say, peace to the God, peace king, this is blank. All right, no name. First and foremost, congratulations you on.
Just for a side note, before I'm gonna let this keep going, so we can close this out. They are not trying to get free, because if they were trying to get free, they wouldn't be having this stupid ass award show in the beginning.
Congratulations on the young guy, Heru. He said, I'm hitting you up because blank wants 5 minutes of your time to talk. He wants to give you some advice on the NOI situation. If you can lend your ear. He doesn't want to do business or anything. He just wants to build. Hear him out, God. Let me know if I can call you in peace and blessings. Now, there's nothing wrong with this message. Message wasn't crazy or disrespectful or anything. But before I read y'all my response, I just want to make my point. Why you on your channel talking shit about me and dogging me out like a dog and trying to instigate what the fuck was going on with me and Ben, but you sitting here calling me and Seti motherfucking trying to be our friend? So this just show y'all how y'all, these niggas is fake. These niggas do this shit for views.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Don't give a fuck about information really being delivered that's actually giving somebody a shot to grow and elevate their consciousness. Now, this was my response.
Prophet spoke to him, and I guess Pharoah, he called me back. My nephew called me back and said, you know, he's still going through that. He ain't get over that yet, and, you know, he just declined. So I said, all right, cool, no problem. I said, more power to the young brother. He probably needs another year to get over his to get over the shit. Even though, like I said, I'm the only one that lost money. Nobody else. All right.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
It doesn't sound that over it to me.
Give him his time.
I said, my response was, I'm straight on that, bruh. 100. I repeat, I do not fuck with blank or blank. They tried to get me locked up.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Also tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we talked again about Moors, Masons. Our Masons Moors and our Moors Masons.
They just do it in a different way. And so you don't really notice it. See, the pastor gonna send the motherfucking collection plate. The Moors is gonna send the motherfucking doctrine. And that nationality.
Shame.
And that's where they getting all that.
Shame.
Islam is free
Shame.
masonry.
Plan for part of the divine plan that this will come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
757-750-1993 is the call-in number. We will be live again tomorrow, and again, we will be asking a question. So please share the video, like or dislike if you're so inclined. But please share the video nevertheless, because we're going to ask that question again this weekend, and the call lines will be open this weekend. We want to know, are Moors Masons and are Masons Moors? Will we have some Moors step up to the plate and answer this? Especially Moors who go around bashing Masons. It'd be nice to hear from them. Shame TV 2. Peace out.
Shame.
My
Shame. Shame.